Welcome back to season 2 of Energetically You, where we talk all things healthy habits, abundant mindset, and optimal wellness. I'm your host, Megan Swan, a mindset and wellness coach. I love helping women optimize their wellness through plant-based nutrition, movement, mindfulness, and mindset practices that having them feel more aligned with who they truly are and confident in their own skin. I'm the creator of the Sustainable Integrated Wellness Approach. I am also living in Mexico, and I have been for the last 12 years. At 30, I sold everything and went on my own eat, pray, love journey, if you will. And now at 42, I'm still on my first stop, loving life and feeling more empowered than ever before. This podcast is for incredible humans who are interested in feeling more aligned with who they truly are, confident in their own skin, and able to make more empowered decisions for themselves going forward in their future. So let's dive in. Today, I'm so excited for multiple reasons to interview again my friend, Karolina. One, because this is my first return guest, which makes me feel like it is another level in my journey in podcasting. And two, because I'm so proud of her for publishing her book in HarperCollins. It's already a #1 bestseller in Amazon. It was overnight because she did such a good job of spreading the word. I will quickly read her bio and then we'll jump right into my conversation with Karolina. So, Karolina Rzadkowolska is a certified alcohol-free coach who helps powerful women make alcohol insignificant in their lives. So beautifully worded. She's worked with thousands of clients through her online courses and coaching to change their drinking habit and unleash a new level of health, happiness, and potential to go after their biggest dreams. Her book, Euphoric, Ditch Alcohol and Gain a Happier, More Confident You, via HarperCollins and featured in Target, will be out on bookshelves January 4th, so it is already out. She's the host of Euphoric the Podcast, founder of Euphoric Alcohol-Free, and her work has been featured in the Huffington Post, Popsugar, Authority Magazine, Greatist, and Elite Daily. Karolina's passionate about helping you discover what really makes you happy outside of a beverage and design a life you love. Hi, Karolina. Good morning. I know it's really early for you on the West Coast, but thank you for doing this. And I'm so thrilled to catch up with you. Congratulations, first of all, on your book. Yeah, it's already a bestseller on Amazon. So exciting. And I'm thrilled to share this space with you. So let's get started. How are you?
I'm doing really well. And I just want to say thank you, for bringing back on the show. And I'm just so excited to share this process because it was used to be such a huge pipe dream for me. And I still get little chills when I look and see that this is a real book.
Yeah, I think it was a reel, maybe I consumed so much content, but I'm pretty sure you did a little reel on the moment that you actually got to open the box of your books.
Yeah.
And I think that was really, it's such a raw moment. And so let's back up. How long ago did you have this dream to write a book, or that it was on your radar as a thing to do?
I was a really big reader and writer as I was a kid. And so right when I started devouring books as a young child, literally those young adult books, I knew I wanted to write a book. So I could say 6 years old, literally. And I remember writing little poems. I remember doing little plays. I would write short stories as I got older. And I started, I was a big journaler too. And it's so fascinating to me to watch this huge creative outlet that I've had in my life completely dry up when alcohol came into the picture. I started drinking more regularly in college, and that's just about exactly when I stopped writing. And I wouldn't even journal anymore. I used to just fill pages and pages and have online documents of journals. And then I just stopped connecting with myself, which was so odd to say it that way. And so as the years went on, though, I still had this huge dream. Like I thought when I was a kid, I would write my whole life. It would be like a writing profession. But by the time I got, into 24, 25, 26, 27, I was just like, God, please, if I could just write one book, please, if I could just do that. But the ironic thing is I never wrote. I never sat down to write. And so I would have these New Year's resolutions every year and in my later 20s. And it was like, this is the year you're going to write. This is the year you're going to practice. And so I'd make some kind of resolution and, I'm supposed to write 30 minutes a week or something like that. And every year I would do like the first week and I would end up with a paragraph. And that is it the whole year. That's all I had is one paragraph. And, I look back, like, what was it that made it so hard to write back then? And I think it's obviously so interwrapped with my relationship with alcohol and just what I thought was possible for my life. But first of all, like, I didn't have the discipline, you know what I mean? Like when I asked myself, what sounds better, a bottle of wine or writing the next great American novel, the immediate gratification part of me always chose bottle of wine, right? So like there was no discipline to it too. But I think it goes so much deeper than that as well. Back then I honestly wanted to write a novel and I wanted to, write these beautiful, I had studied literature when I was younger. So I wanted to write beautiful character developments of just very gorgeous stories. And something that was really came apparent to me is like, how could I possibly develop a character's emotions if I'm not even willing to look into my own, if I'm not even willing to sit with my own and I'm always escaping to this alcohol? Like I didn't even have the capability to be that vulnerable on a page. And even though a character is like obviously a fiction, right? Something you make up, like every author actually takes a lot from their own personal life. So it's as if my personal life was like, no, we're not going there. We're not going to open the door to my emotional, underpinnings. But how could I possibly then do that for a character I wanted to write? And so it's interesting to me that it's like, until I was willing to get vulnerable and really own my entire truth and my entire story and my entire, even relationship with my vices, right? With alcohol, I would have never been able to write a word. And so it wasn't until the year that I went alcohol-free that finally I became a voracious writer again. And it actually started with just journaling. So I was really having a lot of epiphanies about myself, about my relationship with alcohol, about society in general and how that functions. And so I was writing like a maniac. I mean, it came back. And that's when I was finally like, wait, if I could write again like this in a journal, I think I can have something here. And that's kind of how this started.
Wow. Okay. Well, there's so many follow-up questions I have. First of all, I love the awareness. It really resonated with me when you said, looking back, you can see that you stopped journaling basically when you went to university and sidebar started drinking. And I think I had the same experience, although I've never really drilled down on that before, but I think it's really common. I was thinking back the other day, I was writing an article and when I started journaling, it was pretty much in the teenage years. And, I used to read all the teenage magazines and it seemed to be like a thing, there was awareness that it was cool to journal or, there wasn't necessarily journaling prompts or, it's just that you're supposed to like write down your life for some reason. Right. And I wonder from that, like how many little girls have the same dream because this is it was a goal for me last year to start writing, which I did. I wrote a chapter, but it's really more this year that I'm going to. It's very high on my list and a priority. So yeah, that disconnect piece with the journaling, I think is huge. And then the discipline piece for me, I also really resonate with that. I mean, I very much thought discipline wasn't cool. The kids that managed to be disciplined, let's go back to university and the ones that sort of had this clear path. They seemed to know exactly what they were going to do. And they did that and they went right into the job they were supposed to go into. I had this deep jealousy, but also this idea that I don't know. I think I'm still trying to figure out exactly what it was. Is it that I had fear that I couldn't do that because I wouldn't show up for myself the story I was telling myself was that it wasn't cool. Like, it was way more cool to be at the bar and have fun than to, show up for yourself and study consistently and all those things. I did quite well in university, but with very little clarity on where it was all going. So I love that you point that out, that, you became disciplined. I myself as well. I mean, for me, like starting to run and do, like, have a very clear goal and a date on the calendar and like piece that out. I kind of really learned a lot about discipline and how supportive it can be through running, but I've applied it to other parts of my life. So how can you tell us, so you started writing it, and then at what point did it become this like very clear goal project? And did it become like more disciplined for yourself when you were writing, or how much you were getting done every day? What did that look like?
Yeah. So I remember about like 2 months into my alcohol-free journey, I was watching a sunset in Hawaii, and like this word euphoric just came to me, and it came from somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like, you are meant to write this book. And it came in the form of a book, right? So it's like, this is the feeling of being alcohol-free. It's euphoric. You are meant to share this with the world. And I had that at that point, not even decided to like be alcohol-free. I was still just like on a little break, so it almost has been there from the very get-go of this journey to write this book. And even another afternoon, like another 2 or 3 months after that, I sat down one day, and all of a sudden, like the entire organization of the chapters just came to me too. Having never thought of it before, having nothing, I had no business even back then. And it's just like all of the chapters that are mostly, it's still like make the architecture of the book, or like came to me there. And I was just like, holy moly, like I've never, basically struggling with writer's block for around, 13, 12, whatever years. It was like, what, where did this come from? Like nothing like that. No insights like that had ever been coming to me before. And so I really honored it. And I was like, this is really something special. Like knowing how it feels like to not feel creative and have no ideas, like to now having this God-given insight. It was like, wow, this is something powerful. And so, with the discipline, it's so interesting that like how alcohol gets intertwined with that, because like, I think no matter even what type of drinker you teach yourself literally that like long-term fulfillment, long-term contentment is not a worthy goal, that this immediate gratification is so much more important to you. And so it's like, it's really then hard to switch it around. I think when you're still drinking, to be like, no, there's things that take a lot of patience, a lot of time, a lot of hard work, and I obviously could do a lot of that kind of stuff for society. So like I had 2 master's degree at that point, right? I mean, I could study, I could do hard things, but it was often such a people pleasing format of it. And I never could do those for my goals, like these dreams that didn't have anything to do with external validation at first. Right. And so I took it, and I was just like, I really honored it. And I remember even visualizing on it one day, and I visualized like having the book published. I visualized like going on a book tour. And I literally saw it all happening like in the next year. I was like, so like, oh yeah, next year, all of this will happen. I'll be on a book tour. But it just gave me this like from the, like, literally I completely given up on writing a book to now knowing like, this is my destiny. Like it was such a firmly planted new belief. Like this is my new destiny. Otherwise I would not have these ideas. And I really honored that. And so all I started with is just because I had, writing a book, if you want to get traditionally published, there's different ways to go about it. But you don't have to write the book at first, basically. Like you could wait to get a book deal if you wanted to. But I was so, I wanted to really prove to myself that I now could write a book. Now that I knew I could journal again a lot, the writing was coming back to me, the ideas. So basically all I did, which just sounds so much more simpler than write a behemoth of a book, is I would sit down 15 minutes earlier in the morning than I, usually had to get up or be ready. And I have these like little like notebooks that are super teeny, like utilitarian notebooks. And I would just write like 3 little pages in a notebook. And that's it. That's all I did. And I would just do that fairly consistently, not even every day, but, maybe every weekday or 4 times a week or whatever. And I would just write for 15 pages. And so that also proved to myself that like, wow, if I sit down, I can do this. I can write it. And it was like a little chunk. And honestly, it really wasn't that long of time before those little notebook pages became a 60,000 word document, which is kind of the size of an average book. Obviously, like my book has evolved so much since those little pages. It's not exactly, I know those are just the first rough draft, but that's really kind of like those beginning steps. And then I want to say too, something, if anyone is an aspiring writer out there, what really also helped me too was this book called The Artist's Way, pretty popular by Julia Cameron. And so that has you do exercises that actually aren't to do really with writing, or at least not creative writing in the moment, but that helps you unleash your creativity. And so I definitely credit that for helping me as well.
I love all those tidbits. I'm going to incorporate them into my plan this year. And I love that, back to the piece on discipline, there's a lot there when you state that you're going to do something and then you do it. You consistently show up for yourself. It's like building this self-trust that I feel like, well, at least I'll speak for myself, alcoholism essentially eroded over the years. I would hide behind jaded sarcasm, basically. But it was always holding me back. It's really only very recently that I've kind of like let that silt in, like how I think it's necessarily that valuable to, I don't know, look back and like regret a bunch of stuff and sit in that for very long. I don't think that's very valuable, but at the same time, coming to terms with the reality that, I really feel like I'm starting my life at 40. I got sober at 38 and I've like gotten a long way along this, even considering going after these little girls' dreams. Yeah. And so let's quickly talk about the art. How did you decide, like, what was the journey there and getting the cover? Because it's epic.
Yeah, it's a really cool process, I think. And I'm a really big fan. And if anyone's interested in writing a book, you could go the traditional publishing route, or you could go the self-published route. And self-publishing has a lot of good merits. There's a lot of reasons why someone would want to do that. But I think I have found that a lot of people choose that based on actual self-limiting beliefs, thinking that they would never get traditionally published. So that's why I'm always kind of pushing, like, well, they're looking for raw talent out there in the world. You never know. You could get the book deal. I got the book deal, right? Like this all happened for me. And so, and because when you do work with a traditional publisher, you basically have a team of people who are polishing your book. If I would have published whatever I wrote like 4 years ago, it would have been like a janky PDF basically put online, so I got help. Like you get an editor that like really helps you, think in other people's language, not just your own language, you know what I mean? And then they really can create beautiful covers for you. And then all of the marketing pieces and plugging the book in all these different stores. So I remember wanting to be on the cover for a while. And then we were going to like really go with a cover that kind of really honored the book's essence. And when so we started playing around with some like really big colors and just really like beautiful artwork. But when I first saw this one, I knew it was it. And it's like this, if anyone's not looking at the book right now, it's this like, just, I guess you would call it like a vinyl splash of colors. Like it's just like all these different colors. And when I looked at it the first time, what I thought about is one of those like gorgeous rocks that's like brown and gray on the outside, and you crack it open, and on the inside it's just these gorgeous, gorgeous colors. And I basically thought of it to me as like, we are all that rock. We all have this like limitless potential, and it's hidden away and we don't know it, or we don't it or whatever. And this potential though exists in every single one of us. And we remove the limiting beliefs or the blocks or the alcohol, and then you are left with this raw, beautiful potential. And so that's kind of what I see as the cover of it, but I'm very, very happy with it. And I'm really happy to also be working with a team and to trust that like, it's my vision, of course, but there's also like so many great experts out there that you can tap into to get a piece of work like this out there in the world to really make it, stand out and to really like change people's lives. So I was really excited about that journey. And just speaking about limiting beliefs too, about publishing, like, when I got the idea to write the book, I also basically to start a business at the same time, because I knew I had to. I knew that if you want to get a nonfiction book published, you basically have to have a business behind it these days. So I worked in those goals in tandem. And it's interesting how, like, I started writing the book a little bit, and I started working with clients. Then the client stories got into the book, and you know what I mean? Like, it all just worked in tandem beautifully. And I got an agent, and then, she started selling it around to publishers. And when I got the book deal I got, like, I still pinch myself, because, like, on no known universe should I have gotten this book deal. Like, I'm not a celebrity, I don't have like 10,000 zillion fans on Instagram, like just all these things that the internet will literally tell you have to have or do in order to publish a book. And like, I've defied all of what the internet says, basically. And I know a lot of people who have too. And so I just want to share that, because I think that we get so stuck, like, something like writing a book to me is almost like becoming an astronaut. You don't know very many people who've done it, right? Like your friends don't do it. It's not something that's really like a common thing that happens in our society. So it's really hard to get advice on it. It's hard to know, how to go about it. And it's really easy to believe that, like, it's just too hard, or it's just too much, it's just too complicated to get out there in the world. But like, don't believe everything the internet says, and I think I once read that 82% of Americans want to write a book. And I can just imagine, Megan, that the percentage of people who actually do is like 1, if even, right? 0.1.
It's very low.
Yeah. Right. So like, if you're hearing this message today, and it really resonates with you about your dream of writing a book, because it's a huge probability that you actually have it. I just hope it's a message of hope that, like, yes, it is work. And it took 4 years from the get-go of my project to publish date, right? 4 whole years. But that time would have passed by either way. If I would writing a book or not, it would have been 4 years later, no matter what. And I'm so, so proud of myself to have sat down and done all the steps. And they look like monumental and like a mountain when you're first starting, but you just, like, one little baby step at a time. First I just proved to myself I could write a first draft. And that is not even a necessary step, like I said earlier. And then I started working on a book proposal, and I spent a few months on that, and then I started looking for agents. So it's just like one little step at a time. And I have to say, I was pretty resistant to doing a few of those steps, because I was so scared of the rejection that could come. Like writing the first draft was okay, but then writing the proposal was this huge undertaking, because it was like, well, now people can say no to me. But I worked through all that, and I'm just so happy that, like, I finally achieved that goal that 6-year-old version of me had.
Oh my God, I love all of it. And I feel like you're calling me out on some of my limiting beliefs. So this is good. I did publish a book. I did publish a book, self-publish a book on Amazon 2 years ago. Maybe it was even 3.
Congratulations. That's huge.
Thank you. But it was, the book that I could more easily do at that. I mean, it's a detox. I mean, there's maybe like 100 pages that I wrote instead of, and it's not the book that I dreamt of writing. I'm proud. I definitely own that accomplishment. But yeah, it's still harboring the real dream, which is essentially writing my own weird, twisted Eat, Pray, Love, right? So
I want to read that book so badly, the Eat, Pray, Love one.
Awesome. And to the point with the cover, I love that analogy with the precious stone hidden away. I look at it, and to me, it's vibrant. And for me, sober life was that. And a limiting belief was that it was going to be the opposite. I think it's a really common thing that let's stick to women in this narrative that life's going to be boring sober. That was a really strong reason that I didn't consider a different lifestyle for, I would argue, a decade at least. So let's finish off by telling me a little bit about your journey these past couple of weeks. You obviously did not have much of a vacation, or maybe it was all perfectly planned before the holidays. I don't know, but you've definitely needed to be active, I'm guessing, in some shape or form for the the January 4th publication and all that. So give us a little behind the scenes of what it's been like, the journey.
Yeah. So it is a very long journey from the start to the finish, but it's so interesting. A lot of authors will write a book and be like, okay, I did it. I wrote a book. It's done. And then it's like, now you have to market it. And I don't want to scare anyone, but for me, that is the hardest part. So like, it's been the last 6 or 7 months. Like there's been nothing else going on in my life. It's just been about this marketing of the book. So I'm really grateful and very honored to work with the team. So I did get a publicist. I have my publisher, got my agent, and I did also hire like a book launch specialist, because this was just, again, it's like becoming or not. I don't know how to do it. Nobody around me knows how to do it. Nobody's ever done it before. It's just one of those things that's so specialized, and I really wanted to do it big and do it right. So I got help, basically, first of all. And so I started a long time ago, like with the planning with it. I always felt overwhelmed. I was like, how is all this going to get done? But basically, there's just all these different steps that are been proven to be pretty successful when it comes to a book launch, when it comes to outreach with other people who might have audiences or influencers out there, getting book reviews from like an audience of fans that you have, getting on a lot of publicity. So doing a lot of interviews, I did TV shows last week.
I was going to say, congratulations. That's
Thank
so exciting.
you. Yeah. I was on the biggest morning show in Australia, and that was just such a trip. It was so like professional, legit. I felt like it was like their version of Good Morning America. So that was really cool.
Well, virtually, I'm guessing, or did you go?
It was virtual. Yeah. But just a lot of publicity, a lot of different articles that we've been pitching to and getting into. And then obviously speaking with people like you that I love so much, and just really using my own network to just share the word as much as possible, sending books out, like just so much that goes on. And it was hard. It was really hard. And I have to say, because I also have a business, it was like complete shift away from the business for a few months. And that kind of made it hard as well, in a different kind of a way. Just because there's just so much that happens within your business that kind of had to be paused. And so everything's about the book for a while. But, I'm so glad I did it that way, because I didn't want to ever regret, like I really truly believe that if this book is meant to help millions of people's lives, that is totally out of my hands. That is like the divine wisdom of the universe will make that happen, And I really fundamentally believe that whoever it's meant to help, it's meant to get out there and help them. But I wanted to do everything in my own ability to really launch this book into the world, knowing that like, okay, if there's 10 steps I'm supposed to do, let me do all of those 10 steps. Let me not just half-ass it and do like 2. And there's definitely a lot of projects in my life that I'm like, no, 2 is good enough. That's fine. 2 is good enough. That's all the bandwidth I have for today. But I really just wanted to do all the steps, I'm just making up a number, but I just wanted to feel like I really tried my hardest with this. And even if some initiatives fell flat on their face, or, whatever happens, at least I tried. And so lots of work is just what I want to say for the book launch. But, coming up to the week of it, I mean, it was just like, it's kind of like a party or like a wedding or something you've been planning for so long. And then it happens. And now like, I guess this is the second week, so it's not that even long, but I'm like, it's like, what happens now after the wedding, right? Well, now you have the marriage or whatever, but it's so interesting. Like especially when a book comes out too, it usually grows over time just because of like word of mouth or, just kind of like a snow effect. So on my part, it's like, I've done everything I was supposed to do, and now I'm kind of like, okay, like, where do I shift my focus now? What do I do? Do I relax? Is it all over? But it does feel really good to have crossed that kind of pinnacle. And it really was like, I really honored that day and celebrated it so much because it happened. And honestly, I can remember this conversation I had with my sister-in-law, and we don't get along that well, but I don't know why I told her this. It was like 7 years ago. So I was still drinking. I was probably drinking when I told her. And I told her, Eva, if I could just write one book in my life, if I could just publish one book, and I always meant traditionally publish, I would die happy. Like if like I was saying that with so much pain, with so much like, there's no way that's ever going to happen. Like, it's just not going to happen. And I literally said those words out loud, and to look now today, like check mark, right? Like I finally did it. I accomplished that goal. And I just want to, like, to any woman listening to this, like, I don't think our dreams come to us willy-nilly. I don't think that we think of impossible things to do that just tease us. I literally think it is within our capability to accomplish the dreams that come to us. And they come to us for a very specific reason, and they are very unique. Like, I've met women now who, one wants to, like, be a professional hula hoop dancer, and another wants to open, like, an animal sanctuary, and another wants to go on some, like, Chinese animal expedition. Like, the randomness of their dreams couldn't be more unique, And so that really tells me, like, there are people out here on the planet who have no desire to write a book. You know what I mean? Like, there really are. There's people who have no desire to do X, Y, and Z. Like, the desire came to you for a really big reason. And it is, like, part of your purpose and your destiny to honor that. And it's going to feel really scary, but just to take every little baby step as it will unfold, and the universe will show you what's next, after you do the first one. I really fundamentally believe that. And I think it's not only our destiny to achieve those dreams, I also think it's our main source of contribution to the world as well, and how we help the world.
Last question, in your words, who is this book for?
I wrote it for the past version of me. Like, this is the exact book she needed, and she needed to feel not only not alone anymore, but literally, like, this is the secret to her empowerment, and to not ever have to feel that this is something to be embarrassed about, but, like, to be so proud of, so proud of. And, when I was writing the book as well, and I still use this image, I remember seeing this woman who was a different woman than me, but, like, a younger version, someone in their, like, late 20s or something. And she's riding the metro to work, and she's reading this book on her way to work. And I kept her in my vision as I was writing the book, as I was, going through these steps. This just one woman, like, I obviously would love millions of people to read this book. But when I kept it to just, like, this one life I could change, this one woman I could change, it filled me with such profundity of how important it is to just change that one life, So it's definitely, I think, one of the more empowering books out there about living an alcohol-free lifestyle. It really positions it as, like, this is your greatest strength, and this is, like, where all of the dreams come true. It's like you have the advantage around it. And I hope it just changes worldviews, really, about the way we see alcohol in society, and the way we see not drinking in society as well. And I really heard from a lot of people is, like, I've tried to position this book and target this book to a more casual drinker. So someone who doesn't identify with maybe a severe problem. And I've heard from so many people who kind of allowed themselves a little bit to think about the role of alcohol in their lives, but really didn't feel like they had a space for it. And so it's just, like, that book that gives so much permission, I think, too, permission to anyone. Like, I don't care the quantity of the drinks you have, right? Like, you could be a light drinker in my book, and I still think this book would really help you. So I really see it as kind of like, let's reevaluate the role of alcohol in our lives and just in our entire society, and it really doesn't matter who you are. I think we all have an alcohol story, and we all, as wise, conscious human beings, could make sense of it and really decide what's aligned mostly to our values and to our bigger dreams. And when you put it that way, I mean, like, it almost becomes a no-brainer to so many people out there, and they just need that validation.
Yeah, well, I absolutely love how you're blowing up the conversation on this, and congratulations again on all your success so far. I'm sure it's going to be even more epic as the year rolls out, and I'm so excited to see what you figure out aligns for your next big move, now that you feel really even more limitless than you did when you first decided to quit drinking. So we will share all of the links to the website. There's a website for the book, your website. Is there anything specifically you want to draw people's attention towards? Any way to contact you, or where's best to buy the book? All the things.
Yeah, so you can get the book at www.euphoricbook.com. It's available, should be around the world. There's a UK version, there's a US version. But you can find it there, and there's still some bonus goodies I have that when you order the book, you'll get a few other free ebooks that come with it, like my mocktail recipe book or 50 things to do instead of drinking checklist. So go check that out. And then if you're interested in, working with me, listening to my podcast, checking out my courses, feel free to check out euphoricaf.com.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Karolina, for being here. I appreciate you. I appreciate your friendship, and we'll be in touch.
Me too. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to Energetically You. I hope that this episode has helped you to tune into your natural energy sources so that you feel more energized and focused throughout your day. If you enjoyed the episode, please take a second to rate and review. Each review helps us to help more ambitious women just like you accomplish their goals. Don't forget to take a screenshot, share it on social or in your Instagram stories, and tag me at Megan Swan Wellness. See you soon.